all across America and around the world. This is Veterans Radio. This is Veterans Radio.
Welcome to Veterans Radio. I am Jim Fausone. I'm the officer of the deck today. We've got some great programs for you. I think you'll find very interesting. We always want to remind you can find more about Veterans Radio at its Facebook site or by going to veteransradio.net, where we're on the web 24/7. You can find a lot of our podcasts there as well. We post new ones every Tuesday, so you can get a new story, a new interview, something you didn't know before by going to veteransradio.net. And before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors. First up, we want to thank National Veteran Business Development Council, nvbdc.org. It was established to certify both service-disabled and veteran-owned businesses. You'll find out how they can help your business by going to nvbdc.org. We want to thank Legal Help for Veterans. Legal Help for Veterans fights for veterans' disability rights all across the nation. You can reach them at 800-693-4800 or on the web at legalhelpforveterans.com. We also want to thank our latest national sponsor, Veteran Lending Council. It is a community dedicated to educating lenders, realtors, and veterans on the VA Home Loan Benefit Program. You can check them out on Facebook and other social media outlets. We want to welcome to Veterans Radio today Carrie Mead. She has a very interesting story and career and is the immediate past president of Women in Defense, the Michigan chapter. So we're not only going to hear about her experiences, but she's going to put in context for us this organization, Women in Defense. Carrie, welcome to Veterans Radio.
Hey, thanks, Jim. I'm so grateful to be here and have a chance to talk about women in defense and all the different careers that women can explore in this area.
Well, we have some mutual friends, and we just got done talking about those women, and so I think this is a great opportunity for our Veteran Radio listeners to hear the voice of and experiences of somebody who's made an interesting career working with the U.S. Army. But it really starts way far back. As I just told you, I'm going to ask you, how did a nice girl like you, with a bachelor's of sociology from the University of Michigan, end up in Army management?
Oh goodness! Well, it all starts with this kind of story, Jim. That I fell in love with a boy in the Army.
Oh, there you go.
So. Yeah, I had finished my undergraduate degree and was pretty set that I was ready to go to law school, and moved myself down to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and had myself on the track. And then I figured out that cute boy that I had dated during the summer was not too far away from me in Fort Jackson, down in South Carolina. And after a couple weeks and his assignment at Fort Carson in Colorado, I gave him a call and I'm like, I was going to come visit you over Christmas. You want to get married? And he said, okay. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's where things went off the rails immediately. So, but what a interesting and fun life I've had to lead, and not always according to my own plan, which has made it even more enriching.
Well, you did some work for the American Red Cross. You picked up a master's in nonprofit management, and somewhere along the line, you got yourself as a civilian employee in the U.S. Army. I think the Garrison Detroit Arsenal first. But walk us through that, because now you're a big shot. And why don't we start with that? Tell folks where you are now at Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall.
Great. Yeah, I'm actually serving on a great detail assignment right now with this crew here at the Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall, working as the chief of staff for the garrison here. We do all the support to Army family housing, to the Old Guard. We provide support to our partners on our fence line here at Arlington National Cemetery. And it's, a great joy to provide for the safety and security of the folks here, as well as get after all those things we do to take care of soldiers and their families.
And this is, as you say, a detail that you've just started. And prior to that, I believe you were the garrison manager for the U.S. Army Garrison Detroit Arsenal as a full-time position. Tell us what being at the U.S. Army Garrison in Detroit was all about.
Great. Well, so the U.S. Army Garrison in Detroit's we always say if you've been to one installation, you've been to one installation. But Detroit's really kind of a unique location. What we've done in Detroit is I served there as the garrison manager, and we've civilianized the command billet. So probably one of the I call it my neat party tricks is I'm one civilian in the Army who can give out coins, right? Because I serve in like a command billet. And we do the same things there. You'll find kind of a standard set of services at Army garrisons across the world. But our mission is a little bit different in Detroit in that we don't have kind of the same focus. We don't have military housing, but we have some interesting partnerships, right? We do a lot of our family morale, welfare, recreations in partnership with Selfridge Air National Guard Base. So while we serve in Detroit Arsenal there in Warren, we also run activities out at Selfridge, like a golf course and a child care center and a marina and some different things to help support our military community.
And that's really the key to all of this is it's that support role. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, for sure. That garrisons across the military installations are like little cities, right? We liken ourselves to being city managers. So, that support comes in many ways. So in Detroit, I always say we support those who support our soldiers, our families, and our civilians that, do amazing things for our warfighters, right? Procure and design all sorts of excellent things. And the way that we provide that support is just like you would get maybe from your local municipality. So think of public works, police and fire and emergency services, social services, parks and recreation, all those things that you would expect to receive from the city or the municipality that you live in are things that we deliver on Army installations on a daily basis.
And in that role, you're involved in contracting for, say, mental health services or other social services or education for school-age kids. Talk to us a little bit about that, if you would, Carrie.
Sure. Yeah. Some of the great things that we do. So we all have employee and assistance offices. So, trained social workers on our staff who are really kind of a triage, right? And I know you talked about contracting, but I'll tell you, we have some amazing partners that help support us with providing those services in our local communities, right? And that's how local communities can help their military installations. Just reaching out and figuring out where there's those great touch points to support that community come to play. So, we work with a number of different organizations outside the gate locally. I'll call the Care Out as one of those organizations. They assist us and are really active in helping us with our domestic violence and child abuse prevention programs. So much so that almost on a monthly basis, they're offering prevention training for us as our partner, right, and to our local military families. The other things that you'll see at, Army Child Care is premier, right? There's great child care programs, accredited programs, because we know when soldiers feel that their families are taken care of, that they are, can more confidently go about doing their job, right? So we get after doing things for them, like making sure we're providing quality child care all the way from 6 weeks to kids who are graduating from high school, right? We have a great middle school and teen program as well. Other ways that we support our military families, right? We have a Greater Army Community Service Office. We do financial readiness and planning for our soldiers, also for our civilians, right? It's important for us to keep our civilian workforce in good financial track, right?
Because absolutely.
A lot of our folks who, especially those who carry security clearances, that's an important part of keeping we call it security clearance hygiene, right? Making sure that you're taking care of and cleaning up things is making sure your finances are in order. So that's been a great program for both our soldiers and our civilians on post.
Well, we're talking to Carrie Mead, who's the acting chief of staff at Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall. about women in defense and her career and sort of the interesting things that are done on the civilian side to support the Army in this instance. But I wanted to point out to folks, too, many of our military members would be aware of the professional military education that they go to, and even maybe all the way up to war college. There's something similar over on the civilian side, a staff college that you participated in. Can you just tell us a little bit about the Army's work to make sure that civilian workforce is equally up to speed and educated on these issues?
Yeah, no, it's awesome, Jim. There's a very concerted effort on the civilian side of the house for the Army to set up kind of a parallel training program for our workforce, right, to get them through and give them the leadership skills that they need, right, to move on and move up in our organizations. Just like you would board for a promotion. We go kind of by grade on the civilian side of the house, and there's an Army Career Management Staff College that offers their civilian education system training, and they start at a basic level, right, for some of our incoming graded folks, intermediate and an advanced level, and then some continuing education classes that they offer as well. And what that really does is much like military training that will take you away to a school for a little bit. These programs are often between 2 and 4 weeks long, kind of get you out of the seat that you've been sitting in, and help you sit somewhere else and see the world a little bit differently. So those are all handled out at Fort Leavenworth, and it's they're actually just as you would try to get promoted within the military side of the house. They're wickets that you need to collect in order to kind of move on and move up in the civilian sector as well.
And it's interesting because I think most military members don't think much about that support and the level of civilian support they get, because obviously they're so focused on their training and what they're doing on their assignments on the military side. But talk a little bit about being a civilian employee to the Army and for any military service, because I assume there's the same on for the Navy and what have you. Mm-hmm. But also from a female perspective, as this has been a great career opportunity for you, but it's probably not one many school counselors talk about, or even people would shy away from because they think they're in the military.
Yeah, kind of interesting, right? So I'll kind of go to the middle to talk about that part, right? But I call it life's great irony that I didn't get my first real job working for the Army till my husband had separated from service and we moved home to Michigan, right? So I spent a good portion of my career working for the non-profit American Red Cross, which was a wonderful experience and very portable, right? For a military spouse, you'll find Red Cross offices all over the world. So how did I get back here? And I wouldn't have known really, or probably thought much about civil service until I kind of got back and went like, oh yeah, there's some opportunities here in Detroit still. I should see what they have going on. I think things are changing a little bit though. So one of the things that the federal government is doing is they're really doing a lot of reach out now through what they call their Pathways program. And it's really designed for folks who have recently graduated from college to come and join and look at civil service opportunities. And, we collectively, the Detroit military community, are really making a concerted effort to reach out through all like the social media platforms and in different ways and make sure that this next generation of workforce coming up knows and understands the opportunities that are available to them. And has the chance to consider civil service as something that they're able to do in the future.
Well, it's really important in workforce development that people get exposed to it, because how can they make a choice? I'd be interested in doing this if I've never been exposed to it. So that's why we really appreciate you coming on Veterans Radio to talk about your civil service here. But also I want to transition a little bit to this broader issue, which is the group, but it's the concept, right? Women in Defense. There's a Michigan chapter. And as you're the immediate past president of that group, tell us a little bit about Women in Defense.
So WID, as we lovingly refer to it, really is kind of based on a number of core principles or goals that we want to achieve. And one, it's creating great women leaders in the defense space. So we make sure to offer opportunities to help women grow and learn, and try to tailor our events and our training opportunities around those pieces. The second piece that we're wild about is building strong networks, right? So even as you talked about when we first joined up today, we're here today because my network is strong, and one of my battle buddies, Kate Melcher over there at Fisher House, Michigan, said, "You need to talk to Jim," and she said to you need to talk to Carrie, and so here we are, right?
Exactly.
So, right, and that there's so much power in the network, and there's for us, we say women in defense, so much joy in helping each other out, right, and using that network for our good superpowers, that it's hard to beat that. And then the last piece that we do at Women in Defense is we really want to give back. So you'll see we have a golf outing coming up in July that we raise money for scholarship, and we've given over $160,000 worth of scholarships since we started our program. We give out annual awards every year, our Horizon Industry Awards and our Excellence in Leadership Awards, to really call out and draw attention to folks who are doing great things, women who are doing great things in the defense space. And then we give back through mentorship. So we have a very robust mentorship program where we usually put about 20 sets of proteges and mentors together, and just help people have broader experiences, right? Really connect people across our defense space. I think what's really neat about Women in Defense too is our membership is a lot of women and a lot of men. And it's a really broad set of folks who want to support the military community. So while you'll see some of I'll call it the usual suspects, right? Like those of us who work for Department of Defense, or folks who work for big contractors, you'll see we have a lot of bankers and realtors and folks who provide support to our military community who want to be part of our network and help build things. So it's really great to see.
Well, and there's programming that you're involved with at WID. One of them is to support STEM, and again, we're talking about here's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And if you don't expose kids, if you don't expose young girls to these career paths, they don't know they exist. Talk a little bit about some of the programming.
Oh my gosh, just thanks for calling out STEM, because this year was a banner year for our STEM program. Last year, Darren Sanders, our STEM director, had the great idea of, we're trying to morph ourselves, of course, to a virtual COVID reality. We mailed out STEM kits for all of the kids who signed up for our STEM program this year, and then held a Zoom call where we put the kits together as a group and had folks on board to help people with any problems they were having, and we did a STEM project together in our virtual world, and we had such great turnout for that event last year. Well, this year the team upped the ante completely, and I always call it the silver linings, right, of COVID, right? The things that we learn from and grow from and do better on. We partnered this year with the WID chapters both in Arizona and the WID chapter in Boston. And we're able to expand that STEM event where kids from across the country came together with the leadership and support from all of 3 WID chapters to do a STEM event. And like you said, we need to help everyone see themselves in that space, right? I'll say as a woman who works in the defense industry, especially a woman in leadership, sometimes I'm one of the few women in the room, right? So we need to give folks the opportunity to see women in that space and to see them doing well in that space, right? Or to try new things and take some risks in that space, to know that they have the opportunity to do so as well.
Well, and always in an organization like WID, you're going to connect with folks and create some mentorship relationships, or at least somebody you feel like, hey, I'm going to call up and I'm thinking about this career move or this piece of education to add to my career. Boy, I'd like to talk to somebody who's been through it before, and this is the place to find such women who have made their way into the defense industry, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt at all. I always laugh because it's funny, some of the old stereotypes that still sit around, like people like, oh, a bunch of women, how catty, in particular for WID. the support of this group is just amazing. And the first time that you say, I need help with, out of your mouth, when you engage with the WID tribe, there's 10 people doing what can I do to help? Or here's how I can help you. Or it's just, it's a joy to see, right? That getting that network together and creating that, like you said, safe space to dialogue and try out new ideas and learn things. It's just a great community we've created.
Well, I also got a kick out of the one of the events just occurred, the Kentucky Derby event. So if you think this is just a bunch of stuffy old defense women, I assure you they had some fun both at the Kentucky Derby event, the upcoming golf outing event, and
hey, you can find us on both Facebook and on LinkedIn if you want to take some looks at the fabulous hats that we found.
Well, you have to for the Derby. It's required. How do people find the WID Michigan chapter if they say, geez, that may be something I'd be interested in participating with?
Yeah, so our web address, if you want to find us online, is WID-MI for Michigan.org. The national organization, if you're not in Michigan and you're interested, if there's a chapter that you can connect with, is womenindefense.net. And that will still lead you back to the Michigan chapter as well if you want to look for us that way. And then, like I said, you can find us out on social media profiles with Women in Defense Michigan.
And there are chapters all over the country. You've mentioned a couple. But maybe talk about that broader network, too, because you now find yourself down in Virginia. And in maybe a different role for a WID local chapter.
Yeah, so WID National, has a large chapter that's here in the greater DC area, but the WID National organization also, has a lot of programs that they offer as well. And one of the great things for us is our vice president, Sue Tellier, is very active on a number of the committees that the national organization has, as well as our director of scholarship, Maura Rylander, who is active in helping with the national level scholarships. So, you're able to connect that way with the local chapters, but also help, feed the greater Women in Defense organization and kind of, keeping us all aligned with our values and our goals.
So if you were maybe a young woman coming out of college or otherwise, and you're thinking, I would like to work somewhere in the defense space, I don't even know how I would go about looking for a job or connecting in that to see what opportunities might exist. Carrie Mead, do you have any advice for people?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is the federal government hires using a tool called USA Jobs. So if you go to usajobs.gov and type in where you live and see what comes up, right? There's opportunity, of course, to find a lot of those defense related jobs in that area, but you'd probably be surprised at the breadth and variety of things that the federal government offers. If you're looking potentially at that life of service. In particular in defense, right, if you're local in a defense community or there's a strong defense community, you're probably going to hone in a little bit on, those companies that are nearby. I'll say, interesting for Michigan, the Michigan Defense Center did a study a couple of years back as they were looking at their protect and grow strategy and mapped out all of the businesses in Michigan in particular that do business with defense, either directly or as a sub of a sub, right, for some sort of contract. And they hit pretty much every county in the state of Michigan. So the reach and the touch of defense in Michigan and across the country is really, really, really broad. So
it is.
I would check out those tools, and then of course, if you're close to a WID chapter, I would definitely reach out to WID, because like I said, part of what we do is build our network, which gives you access to the chance to talk with people about what you're looking at, and then meet people who can help you navigate the path that you choose.
We're talking to Carrie Mead, who's the acting chief of staff at Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall. And Carrie, as we come to a close here, you and I were talking before we got started about what you get to view out your window. Why don't you give our veteran radio listeners a little insight into that look that you have every day at work down there.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jim. You know, what I've been given, or the gift that I've been given right now in doing this detail, is I look out over Arlington National Cemetery from my office window. And I was telling Jim when we started that, hey, there's a funeral coming out of the old post chapel right now, getting ready to make its way into the cemetery. And I'm on the lane where the caissons from the old guard come through and help deliver our veterans and soldiers who passed on or are being moved to the cemetery, go by every single day. And, you know, it reminds me to be grateful and really, you know, have a lot of gratitude for the service and the sacrifices that many men and women in our country have made to keep our nation great. So, you know, it's been a great pleasure to be able to be offered this opportunity to be here and be reminded so visually every day of why we do these things and why we want to take care of our soldiers and our families.
Yeah, it's such important work. Thanks for sharing that. Carrie Mead, thanks for taking a little time today to talk to Veterans Radio.
It's been a joy. Thanks, Jim.
And I want to thank everybody for listening to Veterans Radio today. I am Jim Fausone. It's been a pleasure to be your host. I'm a veterans disability lawyer at Legal Help for Veterans, and you can reach us at 800-693-4800 or legalhelpforveterans.com on the web. You can follow Veterans Radio on Facebook and listen to its podcasts and internet radio shows by going to veteransradio.net. And until next time, you are dismissed.
If you have a VA claim denied by the Board of Veterans' Appeals, contact Legal Help for Veterans at 1-800-693-4800. They're experts in handling cases before the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. Their number again, 1-800-693-4800.
We again want to thank our national sponsors, the National Veterans Business Development Council, nvbdc.org, VA Ann Arbor Health Care System, the Vietnam Veterans of America Charles S. Kettles Chapter, Ann Arbor, Michigan, VFW Graf O'Hara Post 423 in Ann Arbor, and the American Legion Press Corn Post 46, also in Ann Arbor. And the Veterans Lending Council, which advises lenders, realtors, buyers about VA Home Loan Program, and you can find them on Facebook. We appreciate all your support. You can go to veteransradio.net, click on the sponsor level, and continue to support keeping Veterans Radio on the air. And until next time, you are dismissed.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.